Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick. I am Mo, and I had to look at my card for that, which is cool and something you're learning about me. Every week, I'm asking the funniest artists how they got their acts together. And this show is not about the best or most famous work. It's about the work that means the most to them, the creative process, and why they make their art. As you guys know, or should know, because you're rude if you don't, I love you, just kidding. This summer, I'm headed to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival with my stage play, Worse Than You. So, for this episode, I'm chatting with a Fringe headliner, baby, a star, someone you finna know so soon. On the show today, we have Ella Evans. She is a writer, performer. Her work explores queer life and themes of rural identity and freedom. She is a Channel 4 new writer, and her show, Femme Fatigue, has been featured by Diva magazine as the top 16 LGBTQIA shows to see at Fringe. Baby, please welcome to the show, Ella Evans. Ready, set, show!
ABC Wednesday. Tim Allen and Kat Dennings star in the new family comedy Shifting Gears.
Dad, I'm broke and I need a place to stay until I figure out what the rest of my life looks like.
So, a couple of days.
When his daughter moves back in.
The last time you walked out that door, you looked back at me and gave me a double bird.
I was 18. The double bird was how I ended all our conversations.
The wheels come off.
Can we try to talk to each other like rational adults?
Have you watched the news lately? That's not a thing anymore.
Series premiere Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
I'm so happy to meet you, I guess.
Hello, hi.
Well, I'm really happy to have you on the pod. I would love just kind of open up to kind of give what we call every week a TLDR, a too long didn't read breakdown on the show that you're performing at Fringe.
Yeah, great. So my show is called Femme Fatigue, and it's a one-woman comedy show about chronic fatigue. It also explores queer rural life, bonkers family dynamics, and I was kind of trying to think of an image that I could give you guys to help you sort of imagine the show. And I thought, kind of, if you can imagine a Victorian lying one on a chaise longue.
I can imagine that so easily. You have to know.
The classic image. And then if you want to put something in to subvert that a little bit, like maybe there's a boiled egg in one corner, or the Victorian has tattoos and muscle mass. It kind of combine those images and you'll get the slightly surreal tone of the show, I hope.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I am someone who, in my process, really adores working with the surreal. So is your piece about a character, yourself? Do we not get to know?
It's based on my own experience, but I kind of pushed it into the world of another character. A lot of it is inspired by my own sort of lived experience and themes that really interest me. But somewhere along the way, I decided to fictionalize it a little bit.
Okay, we're already in a place where I'm excited to talk because that is very similar to my work, and that is born of sort of needing permission to go outside my own experience or even feel protected as a performer. Like, I'm not going to give you all of me in this way, and I'm wondering where that's born of for you, or is this like what you do in your work?
I think, I feel like it's kind of, I want to be able to go further than my life has necessarily led me to go. You know, like you can push out in new directions or new avenues. It can be bigger. It can be more surreal. You can do more outrageous things than you may have done, you know, in a world that tries to very tightly constrain you to reality or to, your lived experience. So I guess it's a way to kind of push away the scaffolding a little bit of my own life so that I can explore a bit.
I love that. I do think it's interesting in this sort of, monetized capitalism era that I noticed that you don't necessarily have a very active or large social media presence. And that always exhilarates me. I feel like I'm talking to someone who is free. But I'm wondering if that's like an intentional part of your process or affects like your work in any way and that sort of freedom and scaffolding.
Yeah, that's a great noticing. Thank you for stalking so thoroughly.
Oh, very good at
Mm. Yeah,
it.
I got my first mobile phone when I was 18. I
Okay.
then had to lean very heavily on my siblings and friends to explain how to make it work for me. Quite late to understanding technology. I feel like I I do see the value of having a social media presence is obviously really important. At the same time, I don't think that being saturated with that energy is great for me as a creative. Like it's for me, it's a necessary thing so that I can share what I wish to share and I can promote the shows that I want to promote and I can tell people what's going on so that it will reach a wider audience. That's really important. But I wouldn't say that I skip to my Instagram account with joy.
Yeah, you're not so psyched to hop on a trend.
Well, yeah, like maybe that'll change. How do people get excited about Instagram? Like, tell me, what do I need to be doing? As my
Um, well, I actually think it's really interesting for artists who are doing things that require, context or sitting with something for a minute that are then asked to bottle and make it condensed to 30 seconds or pitched or like give a vibe. So I do think it's difficult. I think as a you know, as a way to get people to come see your art, there's no way to be excited about it. I mean, you could just like do pictures you like and, repost art you like. But I feel like as a way to express creatively, that's the only way I get excited is if I get to make like a weird little video that's, parroting Boogie Nights, that sort of shit.
Which is, yeah, and that's fun, isn't it? Making videos is fun. Yeah, okay. I'll try that.
Well, you don't need to. I actually really am jealous of this. So, because I don't necessarily have a negative relationship
Yeah.
to social media, but sometimes it feels like the only way I can get the word out. So when
Yeah.
people have an audience without it, I'm like, like tell me your ways, Buddha.
Yeah. I'm going to try some
Yeah.
videos and I'll get back to you on that. Thank you.
All of a sudden, you're like TikTok famous. You abandon your performances altogether. Well, I love this sort of process of, building a show, doing a show. And this isn't your first, show that you've created for the stage. And so I'm kind of curious as to your writing process and like whether that's a living thing on the stage, whether you're the type to write a script and chisel it down. Like, what's the clay that you throw on the mound is what we talk here.
With this show, I very much started from writing and I I want to get it all out on the page, like just without even thinking, no thought, just let it all come out. I think that's like partly a fear that is going to escape from my mind. It's quite fear driven, like, oh my God, I just need to get this down. And the punctuation is crazy. There's basically the grammar's all over the place. I'll sometimes use the wrong word. I don't care. I don't care. I just need to get it out.
Yeah, it has a similar like letters that the word you have, but a completely different meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like a torrent. And then I'm relieved, it's out of my brain, it's on the page. And then I will like retrospectively structure it. And I love the idea that there are people out there who can just plan in advance and calmly execute.
Psychotic. They're lying. They're all lying.
I think there really are people who have that mentality and perhaps also that approach to life. And I really admire those people. I think they're amazing, but I'm very far from that. It definitely comes out as a torrent first and then gets structured. With the previous show, Stingray, I did quite a lot of devising work. So I wrote the script first and then I worked with the director devising. So the script changed a lot through the devising process. This one, I've been taking a different approach and I've stuck more solidly to the script. So I whittled the script right down after the torrent and then started performing it.
So I'm curious in quite a technical way because for me, I am very torrent based as well. but it's a little bit like I'm not writing script. I'm going, okay, I'm thinking, I'll literally write like a stream of conscious where I'll go, oh my gosh, in that Adam Sandler movie, I think it's crazy that they did this. And then if they did this, I can't stop thinking about this. And I'll write all the things that I'm thinking about. And then the thing that stands out the most, that repeats itself the most as I'm writing, I zero in on. And I'm going, okay, I'm starting to see a scene. I'll play it over in my head like I'm an actor in the scene over and over again. And then from there, I'll start dialogue.
Right.
But are you writing like a torrent of actual scenes, or is it just mess?
It's mess.
Love it. Obsessed.
Mess. And then the mess gets ordered, and then it gets more ordered, and then it gets more ordered until you end up with a presentable-ish thing at the end.
That's to me that's so beautiful, because I think sometimes I've been limited by that mess, and I've judged it, and I've been like, oh, this isn't writing, you know, like I should be better at doing the thing other people do. And it's nice to give yourself permission to be messy and to then have something to work with.
Yeah, and also I think, I don't know if you have the experience of like moving between different forms, but you know, like if you start out just deciding that this format is going to be a script, right? That's one approach. But another one is it's come out as a mess, it's taken this form, and you then begin to get a sense or a feel like, this would work well for a script, or I think this works better for like a short story. And I think like different ideas will have a form that suits them, a genre that suits forms, right, that suits them better. And you'll sometimes along the way that gets revealed to you.
I could not agree more. And I think when people say to writers or creators, like, write every day, I a little bit zoom out and I go, maybe don't, but create every day, because you're not going to know the mediums where something will resonate the most if you're not trying all mediums.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And to add to that, because there are ideas about that people will tell you, I think in an effort to be helpful about how you could write, right?
Yeah. It's always loving. It's always loving.
Of course it is. And but one of the ones that I picked up along the way was, well, the first hour after you wake up, there's 2 hours, and they're like the golden hours where your brain resonance is vibrating at its highest frequency. Actually, the time that most people would be commuting.
Imagine how many ideas just kind of float away because they're driving.
So for a while, I thought that's the most productive way to write. But I now think that you have to find times that suit your rhythms and what's working in your life. And, you know, you might have a job, you might have kids. I don't believe that how to write should be purist. I think it should just be like finding pockets in the day and ways that work for you to be sparked by creativity. That's why.
I think that is such brilliant advice, and it might seem basic, but I am someone who would have benefited from hearing that, because even though I know that like I'll write at a different time, I had the idea, because everyone was saying of like, well, my writing would be better or more constructed if I did the artist way, the 3 morning pages, if I woke up and meditated first thing and then wrote. Like I understood that I had a time for myself that was different than that, but there was this sinking feeling like, well, if everyone's saying that that's like the best time, then maybe my writing would be better if I forced myself to do that. And it's hard to like do away with the noise and be like, no, your morning is 7 p.m. when you're just about to go out and you're going to be late.
Yeah, and also like how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Because I just feel a little bit furious in the morning. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God. And I'm a bit sloppy, and oh, the morning.
I adore that.
And so I'm not gonna. I shouldn't really be tapping into that, should I? Or maybe I should, but it just doesn't feel like a great time for me.
I agree, and I like, and you know, people say like, well, you're not always gonna feel like working out, feel like writing, and it's like, this is art. You actually should feel a certain inspiration.
Yeah, and as well as and this is something that I heard you talking about on your earlier podcast, like, as well as knowing, like, you have to show up and do the flight hours or whatever, you know.
Exactly. It's such a dance. But I think that the happy medium of that is flight hours are when you're not grumpy in the morning, but a different time of the day.
And when you can safely fly the plane and you're not gonna
You're not going to like spite take dives. Well, so for this piece specifically, it was more structured, you're saying. And like, I'm interested then into something that is more regimented, how you're feeling about, and maybe have you done like a run of 25 or more shows? Like, is this the first time you're doing something that repetitively?
I have, but not with my own solo show. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I've been to the Fringe with a group, but this is the first solo show this repetitively, and so I'm excited, somewhat curious and daunted. Yeah.
Curious is so sweet. That is such a sweet feeling to have in this.
Yeah, it's true though. I feel curious about it, and I think what I love about that is that the show is going to get so punched about and like pushed through its paces, and I hope that it will emerge with deeper bass notes.
Oh gosh, yeah. Has this been collaborative with like directors or people who are working with you? I'm not even sure if you're directing or you have a director. Is that a component here?
At the moment, I'm asking people to outside eye and sort of dramaturg on it. Yeah, which has been good because it's allowed me to really be very solid in what I want to achieve with the show, but also knowing that I do need outside eyes when it comes to culling some things as well. Things have been culled along the way, and that's good.
Completely. And sometimes it's very nice to just ask someone else because you're like, hey, I love all this. I actually need to know what works for the piece. You tell me.
Yeah. Someone that you respect, obviously, but yeah.
So you're having sort of like a what is it called? Like a wheel or a turning door of different people just to get different perspectives?
Yes, different things. Like, for example, I brought some movement in, and I brought a movement practitioner in. You know, so like when there's something that I want to work on and I know that I don't have the skills to do it, I'll ask someone in. And that's fun as well. And also, for the first time, I'm singing on stage, which is very, very, very scary for me. I cannot easily sing in tune, but I'm doing it. So again, like whatever new thing I'm chucking in there, I want help to make sure that it's not a complete disaster.
I love this. I myself in my show, like Sudi and I, my director, we work together and it is very collaborative and we've had many different finales, but in the finale, I want it, because my character like does a very, vulnerable, sort of telling of her story at one point, finally, and like a moment of vulnerability, but I want it, me as an actor, to have to do the same in line with her. And so I was like, okay, where do I feel most vulnerable? And I was like, it's singing. I was like, and so I do sing a song as well. And it is, to me, like, I can't hide behind anything with a song. It is just, here is my voice. You're going to hear exactly where it's resonating, exactly how I'm feeling. And I cannot hide. It's really intense.
That's amazing. Am I allowed to know what the song is?
Oh, sure. It is Hang With Me by Robin.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a very tender song, and it kind of encompasses a lot of the feelings of someone who is so deeply needing love, but pretty scared of it.
Yeah, that's very Robin.
It is. What's your song?
So mine is, there's two songs actually. One of them is a folk song. One of the things that happens in the play is that my parents join a lesbian-led folk choir.
Obsessed.
Yeah, just so obsessed.
Yeah.
They do become obsessed, actually. And that's a little bit based on truth.
Sure.
So I sing a folk song from there. So it doesn't sound quite as raw and vulnerable as yours, because I'm kind of hiding behind the humor of it in a way, a little bit, tiny bit.
But it sounds like you personally, it is pretty vulnerable to have your voice out there, you know?
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, we're good.
It's happening. It's not one of the things that's going to get trolled.
No. What's the other song?
And the other song is True Colors.
Oh, we love True Colors in this house. That's a classic.
We do love it. It might sound a bit cheesy, but I'm hoping that it won't come across as too cheesy in the performance. Let's see.
No, because I think one of the things about classics that could air cheesy or doing cheesy things, it's like it's only cheesy if someone, isn't authentic. And you are writing, experience. You are authentic at your core. So it's like, it's never going to be cheesy. It's going to be the thing where people walk away and they're like, yeah, I don't know, the song, it gets me,
Yeah, true. Although, so in order to get to this point, the main support structure that I've had for this is my siblings, who throughout my life have sort of been teasing me about how I can't sing in tune. Voice noting them, I'll be walking along and I'll try out a song and I'll send it and then I'll come back in with feedback. Like, yeah, I was like, I think you got that. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm sure they play it on like 1.5 or 2 speed, but they
so
feedback,
sweet.
say how it's going.
Are you the oldest, middle, youngest?
I know, very, very middle child energy.
Oh, really?
Very middle child energy, yeah.
My dad is a middle child, and he describes middle child energy as soft smile energy.
What's that?
So, like, it is, to me, a soft smile, right? Like, it's polite. It's sweet. It's not too expressive, but it is tender. It's not too loud, but it's not too quiet. It is just, like, middle of the way, soft smile. And I think, I don't know, maybe that doesn't resonate with you, but it endears me to middle children very deeply.
That's very cute. He sounds like a well-behaved middle child.
Oh, were you a rebel?
I think I was difficult, and I think I was difficult.
I love this.
I don't know how much soft smiling. I'll ask about. Was I soft smiling?
Do you feel comfortable describing maybe a circumstance under which you would have been described as difficult?
I think I used to be called Hella by the babysitters who came.
Shut up.
Yeah,
that
because
is
like
so heavy metal.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I think I got very hyped and excited quite easily.
Oh, I love kids. I love weird little kids that you're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. And actually, they're amazing performers. Like, they breathe fully up to a certain, breathe like with all their body. And then somewhere along the way, they start to,
I know.
constrict in different
You can
places.
feel like the aura being throttled with each ear. You're like, oh, dang, you were so open.
Yeah, it's sad when that happens.
We're speaking about ourselves. Hella, that is. I hope you do your next show and you just play Hella. You know what I mean?
That's a good character. I'll put her in there.
Yeah, she sounds incredible. I love her. Well, I'm excited to hear like how the show grows with so many performances.
Me too.
And like, has this, and like, you're speaking to an experience, and I'm wondering, it is interesting, like as someone who's reading even just the bio of this, I'm going, gosh, this performance itself is like you said, like a daunting physical task. And you are talking about sort of chronic exhaustion or, chronic illness and fatigue. And like, how do you actually physically approach this and feel about this? And
yeah, that's a really good question. So I think for Edinburgh as a performer, there are definitely ways that you can ensure that you are holding your energy, so that you're only expanding it as much as possible in the performance. And outside of that, obviously you have to fly it, or you can, if you're lucky enough to have the budget to ask someone to fly, you can do that. Mm-hmm. But to really like find ways to rest in very deliberate and conscious ways. And I think with chronic fatigue, that's been a real journey that I've gone on, is to figure out how to allow my body to rest very actively, which includes like resting my mind, like resting the whole system really actively, is something that I've learned to do. And in the show, the character, it's based on me, she doesn't, the show isn't about recovery from chronic fatigue, right? It's about the experience of having this illness and what you learn from it, as well as a whole other plot about queer rural life and family dynamics. And I think, it was very important to me to create a show where the whole focus wasn't about whether or not this person is recovered. Like, it's a show about someone living with the condition and the beauty and hardship that they find within that. And for me as a performer, it's going to be tiring. It will be tiring, and I will be actively resting when I'm not performing. But the show is it plays with pace. So it has some really high energy moments, and then it kind of wants to reflect to you the slower pace of chronic fatigue. So I am playing with pace. So it feels like within the show there are breathing points where I really want the audience to get a sense of the experience of chronic fatigue, and it would be great if they can empathize with it. That's what I want it to feel like.
Yes, I adore when a work of art doesn't necessarily tell you the experience, but in its abstraction and in the feeling it gives you, you experience what they're experiencing. I think that is such beautiful art.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, comedy relies so much on pace, right? It's like, relies so much on pace. So obviously, I mean, I've seen some amazing comedians who slow their thing right down, and then it just becomes funny. And the longer that it stays, then we laugh again, and it circles around.
Yes.
Yeah, the wave. Yeah. So, but there are lots of very pacey, fast moments in it, but there are lots of slow moments too. And I really hope the audience connect to the slow moments as much as the fast ones.
Well, it sounds like you're earning it. One of the nicest compliments I ever received about this show specifically was someone said it is really well titrated. And I've been using that word a lot with other things I see that I see it, because I'm like, titration is such, and for those who don't know, right, it's like a measurement, usually with meds, of like you're perfectly walking the line between the need for relief, a breath, comedy. You're not keeping people in a space too long. You are feeding them the right amount.
That's great. That's a real compliment.
Oh, that was a real one. That was Tessa Hirsch, who is a genius and very empathetic, wonderful writer, performer, caretaker for people. And so I was very, very honored by that. But it sounds like that's not only what you're doing literally, but the feeling you're looking to provide in your art.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I want it to feel, I want people to laugh, and I want it to hit on a deeper level, and I want people to consider energy and pace, and that to be something that's kind of woven through the show, playing around with paces. Yeah.
Oh, that is so exciting.
Yeah.
Did you discover that sort of active stillness through your experience with illness, or just like, I mean, growing up queer, we have to kind of go into our mind palace alone sometimes. So I'm curious as to when you kind of found that.
Wow, that's a good one. I definitely mostly found it through chronic fatigue, and that was one of the gifts that it gave me.
Oh, I love that.
Was to go from sort of a frenetic pace of life all the time, and then understanding this beautiful quality of stillness. Yeah, very much that's how I found it. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I think to identify it as sort of like active rest, active stillness, that is like, I'm envious of that. I think I have moments where I have mastery of that, but To me, being still in the middle of a storm is, Buddha. It is like a nirvana. And so that active component, I think, is next level to just calmness.
Yeah, but I guess, it's something that you have to beckon in and encourage, right? Because I guess for some people it maybe comes naturally, does it? But for performing angsty types, it's maybe just, I don't know, not a type.
No, I don't know if it comes naturally. Well, here's what I'd say. I'd say the people it comes naturally to maybe haven't had the experiences or are bitten with the artist bug, so they have less to overcome to get there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, true.
Yeah. To me, it's a little bit like to be able to not think about Oreos when you have no idea what they are doesn't really mean as much to, have had a full love affair your whole life with Oreos and then get to a place where you can look at them and feel nothing to make the most profound metaphor possible.
I like it. And this mind palace with queer life, can you lean into that a little bit?
Sure. I think it's not only queer, but it's also sort of traumatized people, neurodivergent people, and I think they overlap because of the way society's set up to essentially traumatize them all. But I think of the Mind Palace in a way as right now the collective has a better grasp on therapy language, on healing, so we kind of immediately go to the idea of dissociation or checking out. And I think, especially with creative queer people, we maybe invalidate the times that we weren't checking out. We were creating a safe space within ourselves where we weren't allowing our surroundings that were painful to hurt us. And we are creating art in our astral plane or whatever it is. So I kind of think that's the commonality I see with speaking with a lot of queer people. And there is dissociation, there is trauma, but I don't want that to invalidate the magic of the imagination adversity has created within us.
Yeah. And the power of it and the beauty of it. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, completely. Was that as middle child hella icon, was that something active in your life, sort of your creativity or even your queerness, or is that more recent as well?
Yeah, in terms of queerness, I suppose I think it was a process. There was not just, I didn't sort of come out once, or it's like an ongoing.
Oh yeah,
it's just like this process, and it kind of cycles around, and sometimes it feels really, really important to be placing that at the center of my understanding of myself and defining myself through those terms, and another times it's just there and it's part of me, and it that I'm thinking on myself through other lenses, but it's always there. Just sometimes it's more important for me to really be understanding and with it and figuring it out. Yeah.
And personal with it. I get that a lot, because even with this character that I wrote, I was like, okay, should we talk about queerness? Should she be queer? Well, it's always good to express identity, so people, and it's like the times will show themselves, the times to highlight it, the times to speak on it, if this is the piece for it, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know if you had this experience, but there was a phase in my queerness where I felt like, oh, I really hope that I'm doing queerness right? You can get worried, am I doing this right? Which is bonkers, because I am mixed. Do you see what I mean? So you can get very outside in about queerness, and it's great. We have to understand queerness in a wider context and what it's doing, and socially, and how it's changing the world. All these things we need to be aware of, but at the same time as well, with that, I found can come some. You can sort of forget, I'm just it. I am it.
You can so easily forget, am I good enough? Am I gay enough? Is my haircut this? Is my gender that? Did I wear enough clothes? Did I sleep enough people? It's all these questions that come from other people's insecurities or projections or our own. And Again, it's the Oreos. It's like, can you stare at them and be like, nah, I'm queer, bye. Like,
And like there are I think there are as many notions of queerness as there are queer people.
mm-hmm.
And like, I don't want to lose the nuance of people's individual understandings of what queer is along the way.
Not at all. And I do think, right, it's such a nuanced conversation because I also don't want to not acknowledge, right, the privilege of not visible queerness or not, I think it's similar to, people on the spectrum. It's acknowledging the struggle of someone who maybe can't pass, quote unquote, or mask as much, but that doesn't invalidate those who do not present as hard either.
Yeah. Agree.
Such a dance. Just to be ourselves.
I like this. You've used the dance a few times. I like it.
Oh, have I? Great. I'm like, it is very exposing to start a podcast because you realize the things you repeat constantly.
Yeah, like your catchphrases or your motifs. I think dancing is one of them. For
Cool.
sure.
I'm building quite a few. They're not the ones I'd expect. They're not the ones I'm pushing. Do you have ones that are like, people are like, oh, that's such an Ellaism?
Oh, wow. Maybe.
I love this.
I'm trying to think like a phrase that I keep coming up with or a metaphor that I keep using.
Yeah, or like a story that you're like, this is my thing. This is what I keep telling you guys.
Oh, wow. I think most of my friends just find me a little bit ridiculous and quite trotting around playing characters with me. So maybe that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
People like to call me. I went to clown school, so maybe the clown part comes out. Yeah.
Oh, we're this far in, and now you're telling me about clown school?
Yes.
Oh, I could talk about that for 100 years. Well, okay, we're going to start a little transition, our down ramp to the end. And I'm going to start that with a quick, are you familiar in your country? I'm so scared to get it wrong. I'm like UK, Britain, England, Scotland. You know what I mean? I'm like, so I just say, in your country, do you guys do fuck, marry, kill?
Yes.
Okay, cool. In high school, we called it marry, kill, grill if we didn't want to curse. And so I'm wondering, marry, kill, grill, notes app, computer, or notebook for writing?
Okay, so I'm going to marry my MacBook.
Okay.
I already have pretty much.
Really intimate.
I'm going to fuck my notes app.
Good. Nice.
Yes, because that comes along with me and we have our moments throughout the day. But I feel terrible saying this, but I'm going to I'm going to kill notebooks. I don't really use them apart from to-do lists.
I don't feel bad for a second. Your choices were the same as mine. Like,
Okay.
I would love to be a notebook person. But there is too much coming out too fast.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with it.
It's more just on an organizational level as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I end up getting very dispersed and I can't find them and it's the faff and I have to find a pen and sorry.
It becomes fully ridiculous. I love it. Well, we do end every pod. This has been a beautiful conversation. I do hope to continue just to be in conversation because I just appreciate people willing to talk about the process. So I thank you for that. But we end with a section called Thank You for Holding My Poems. And I know you might have been briefed, but just to recap, it's a moment or interaction or work of art that has changed you or felt important to who you are as an artist and the stuff you create. And it can be as big as the Sistine Chapel. But I personally hope that you use this moment to celebrate like the smallest moment, like, somebody at a restaurant, complimenting you on a day you really need it, that means a lot to you that you might not take the time on a podcast to normally talk about.
Okay. So yes, I like this. I am going to choose a moment in a Aurora Pride event that I went to very recently in a town called Tavistock where I grew up. And there was the inclusion of a dog show. So people were, bringing their little poodles and going around in circles, and there was judges.
You can't see, my mouth is wide open. I'm so happy right now.
I can actually see you, and I can see that this story is really having a great impact. And I met a woman who was a friend of some friends, and she said, I've always wanted to be a dog. I've always wanted to go to a dog show and just perform as a dog. So I then went around the dog owners and asked if anyone had a spare lead, and they didn't. So I managed to get her just dream, and we entered her into the dog show. Her name was Arnold. She did an incredible performance as a dog, and it came second place. And it was just a
second place.
Yes, I think there's something poetic about the fact that she didn't come first place.
Oh, it's so good. You couldn't write. It's second is so good.
Second's perfect, isn't it?
Oh, it really is.
But she's not a performer. She just had a dream, and it was just bonkers. And that, yeah, I love that. That just within life, you just find these absurd moments, and they're.
Oh, that is so touching.
Well, it was touching and maybe a bit surreal as well. It was touching.
Wait.
But it was a good mix.
What I'm obsessed with is like everybody had to say yes to that, right? Like people watching, like
Exactly. And it's a rural community, which is maybe not always as open as some other communities, and everyone just said yes, and she just did her thing as the dog in the dog show and came second place and got dog biscuits as a prize.
No. Also, there is something like, it's so funny because it's like the first thought is sort of like kink, like someone wants to be you think of like pride,
Exactly.
someone be but this is so wholesome.
No, also what was great about it was like the kink version was there, sort of trotting along like a shadow around it. Well, not a shadow, like a great.
No matter what, that's sexy a little bit.
No matter. Yeah, it was there. It was there as a like undertone. But it was a very wholesome moment too. Yeah.
Oh, I really adore it. That's a perfect poem. I will remember that story and that poem for 100 years because, again, also like to be the type of person who's not like gunning for it, but is willing to be like, hey, I kind of always wish I was a dog. Like,
such a sincere wish from her as well. Such a sincere wish. And it just
I need more people. I need more people to be like Arnold.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. It's good to celebrate that. That's what I want.
Oh, Ella, I love that poem. I've so loved speaking with you. I can't wait to see your show.
Oh my God, yay.
Yay! Do you have any sort of final words you want to your audience, to people who you want to join, where they can find you, what you want to say? Any final words?
Oh, yeah. I would love to. Well, going back to the start of this podcast, my social media presence does exist. Find me at Ella Evans Comedy. Maybe after this chat, I'll be releasing some videos for you all.
Some TikTok trends, some content, some clips I can watch, that sort of stuff.
It's all coming. And if you're in Edinburgh, come and see the show. It's at Hootenanny's. It's called Femme Petite. It's on at 7:55. And just Google it and you'll find tickets. Easy.
That's a good time, too.
Yeah, it's a great time. I'm pleased with the time.
Honey, I'm always pleased with the time, and I'm never pleased with the time. That's life.
It's a great time. Great time to come to the show. And I love to see that. And I would love to hear what people think. Well, very, very open to any feedback, particularly if you've had chronic fatigue and you feel like your experience is being reflected or not.
I love that. Yes, go engage. Go see yourself be seen on stage, and let Ella know. I think that's really wonderful.
Yes. Please do. Thank you so much, Mo. It was gorgeous to speak to you.
Thank you. This is so lovely. And I'll meet you in person soon.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you.
That was such a good episode. I loved that episode with my whole heart, from the bottom of my heart. And here's the thing. It sounds like I'm being facetious, but I'm sitting at home right now re-listening to it for the 18th time, and I'm crying because I really do feel this way. And that person really means a lot to me. And I probably was keeping my chill, a cool kitty cat during the whole episode. Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek is hosted by me, Mo Fry-Pasek. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. It's on your phone, the thing you are touching so often. Sanitize it, my God! For more on our journey to the Fringe and to buy tickets to Worse Than You, the stage play, which, excuse me, let's do that, head to worsethanYouPlay.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram. I know you're scrolling constantly, and, well, it's the least you could do. Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek is produced by Disco Nap and Kinahora Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty.